Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
Jamie, we're doing a lot more video this year.
A lot more. More than ever.
More than we can almost keep up with, which is fun.
We have multiple videographers that do work for us too.
I guess the point of this podcast, I think, is just to kind of share what we're doing, what's working, why we enjoy doing it, and how it's helping our brand grow, but also to encourage and maybe share some stories of early days feeling very uncomfortable doing video. I know a lot of young realtors that are maybe considering putting themselves out there a little bit more on social media, doing more video, doing property intro videos, feel a bit uncomfortable that they're not going to say the right thing, or it's not going to be perfect, or they're comparing themselves to like elite marketers like a Ryan Serhant or like a Gary Vee or whoever, versus it's really important to understand that everyone starts at the beginning. Everyone starts with 0 videos under their belt, and you just have to learn and figure it out. And you can watch some of these people who do a ton, and it's very high production, and to kind of learn and pull some insights and inspiration from. But I think for me anyway, looking back at my video journey, it's important to just start and stay consistent. And it's really cool to look back maybe 2 or 3 years and see how crazy this growth has been and how much more comfortable and excited I am to do video versus like I remember a few years ago, we really only did property videos for really high-end listings, like a nice custom-built home, a cool townhouse on the water with great views, or, not all our listings got video. And we were probably pretty early in our industry of adopting doing property videos, let's say 4 or 5 years ago. And there was a couple days where Jamie asked me to do the intro, and I was just like, no.
You were a different human back then.
I'm not doing it.
The nerves, the anxiety, the number of takes we would have to do to get one good take. I could see it in you. It was just so far out of your comfort zone at that time. But video was newer, and because I started, like, I think my first video was like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
and I think recognizing what you're ultimately getting is getting over that first hurdle of being comfortable being on camera and posting it. Yeah. That's the hardest hurdle.
Totally.
That's the hardest hurdle. And I can recall you going through that. And then obviously today it's a different story. One thing that I remember from the very start of my career, Ian Watt, he was a big video blog guy. He did a lot of videos. I think it was, he did some sort of speaking session, and I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't him, it might have been someone else, but it was along the lines of getting over that hump of doing a video. And really someone stood up and asked that question, and he made this woman take a video of herself, do her first video blog, and post it. And the whole intent there is, it was a terrible video. It was getting over the fear of posting it and having the motivation to bury that terrible video under better videos.
Totally.
So if you really want to get serious about video, you have to decide at some point when you're going to start posting it.
Yeah.
And use the motivation of that first post. Don't perfect that video. Aim to bury that video under better videos. And look back at that first video as a where I've come from moment. And if you look back at one of my earliest videos on the News North and 814 Royal Patio and my first condo in New West, or I think I did a New West Key one, talking about the New West Key, they were terrible. They were terrible, but I'm so glad they exist. And getting over that fear, I think, is step one.
Something that really helped me early on was Instagram stories. It's a 15-second, you're talking about your day or a new property you're listing, or something you learned that day, or a weird term in a contract you've never seen before, just sharing, and it deletes itself in 24 hours. So that's what I used early, 2.5, 3 years ago, to just push myself to talk in front of the camera. And I tried to do one 15-second video every day. And after a couple months, you start understanding that people don't really care. If you screw up or you stumble on words or whatever, I would just post it anyway. And from feedback, most of it is positive. And it's interesting when you start sharing and you realize that you have more to share than you actually think. And for me, it was Instagram stories that helped a lot. I like the idea that it deleted itself after 24 hours so that if I said something stupid, it would go away. But I mean, like, so Jamie mentions this anxiety and stress that I had starting doing it. And it was almost like this imposter syndrome where I don't think I'm good enough yet to be doing this. And I look back a few years and just see how crazy this growth has been. And if you're watching people like a Ryan Serhant, like a Gary Vee, understand how much time, effort, and practice they've had at doing this stuff. And I just wrote down some numbers off the top of my head, like that I've done. And those people that I just mentioned are probably 1,000 times this. But in the last 2.5, 3 years, I've done over 200 podcasts, probably done 150 property videos, probably done 150 to 200 other videos. So like that's a lot. And the consistency and getting comfortable with that just like keeps getting better and better and better over time, and your confidence gets better. And like you said, the number of takes goes down because you're not worried about stumbling and you don't stop every time you like mess up a word. You just keep going, and it produces a more authentic type of video rather than like something that's very scripted. Anyway, I just wanted to share those like numbers of actual stuff that we've done in the last couple of years, or that I've done in the last couple of years, to show that there's no secret sauce with getting good and getting comfortable at this kind of stuff. It's just continuing to practice and getting more comfortable.
Absolutely. I think, maybe we roll into kind of why we video and some of the conversations we have, because we are a little bit experimental, and we're forward. We're doing a lot of video, but we're not necessarily doing it perfectly, and there's a lot of room to improve. But I mean, on the very basic level, I think videos, we've been talking for years, we've talked how videos are becoming more of a thing. But I think when I look at 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, I think being comfortable outwardly, if you are a residential realtor and you want to grow a substantial or significant business facing outward to the public, selling beautiful homes, being comfortable on camera helps you get there.
Yeah.
On the light end, when we're doing a property video, if you have an intro or an exit or some sort of segment in that video, you can highlight 1 to 3 things about that property or neighborhood that the person watching that video wouldn't know. So you can highlight what's most important. Will that make a difference on a sale of that property versus not? Probably not. Odds are it's a low likelihood. Will that help? Does that reflect well on you, your reputation, people that see the video, future people that interview you to sell their place when they watch that video? Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. First and foremost, you want the property to show well. So it's not all about you, but you're trying to get them to watch the video and also get them to understand the true value or the best feature of that property. So that's if you're justifying video for selling a property. I think that's genuinely a 2 birds, 1 stone. You can have a beautiful video of a property and highlight the features in words, but for us, we just like highlighting it out of words that we say.
Yeah.
That video would live in the virtual tour link on MLS, but ideally it would also live on your YouTube channel, which you hope to build up over time. And as you sell more homes and you get in the consistent habit of having videos on these homes, you start having an interesting YouTube channel when people research you to interview you down the road, that they can see that you're active in what you're selling. Those videos that are on YouTube can also be embedded in blogs on your website and help add content to your website. That can also be an added advantage for SEO purposes or just getting more traffic to your website. Those videos also make great embeds for future email campaigns going out to clients, which also have the purpose of some sort of content to share. So a property video could be used to simply sell a property, but if you're also mindful of other applications, let's look at the possibilities of where these videos will benefit us. YouTube channel, Google profile pages, YouTube, Facebook. Facebook wants you to have the video under their own platform. Google too. The sooner you start getting videos up on individual platforms that you're active on, the sooner you just end up one day looking back at, your content built up so much over time. You have a good resume for outwardly facing to the public. So if people look you up, they see what you do, And you may get SEO benefits from search benefits from that, where people start finding you because of the content that you put up.
Totally. And addresses, right? Like we've had people
yes.
search. I had this, a couple weeks ago. Someone was just YouTubing Brentwood. They were looking at buying a condo in Brentwood, and a couple of our videos came up, and they called us, and they bought a condo with us.
It brings a tear to my eye, Denny.
Isn't it amazing?
Like the happiness I have from that.
Right? I know. And a couple of things that they said in that initial phone call is, hey, we found a couple videos on YouTube. You guys seem like you know the neighborhood really well, and you have a really approachable personality. So the thing that I love about video is you get to show off who you are. And whether it be talking about a property, when you're talking about properties, again, coming from this perspective of this video is going to live on my Instagram, on my YouTube, on my website forever. It is important to be enthusiastic in these videos. Be excited about the property. Even if this is a standard 1950s bungalow, no updates, there's still features, right? There's features of the neighborhood. There's features of a park nearby or amenities nearby or a great school catchment or a mall down the street or whatever that may be. There may be future development opportunity with that type of property, and showcasing and being excited about those top 3 things of this home, even if it is 1960 original condition, is really, really important. And future people, potential sellers and buyers that watch those videos will get to know your personality, which I think is super important, but also see how passionate and excited you are about real estate. And I think that is super important.
Absolutely. It does so many things that, like, the unintended, so the purpose behind video is just get more awareness and have more, one, show off the property, but also show off yourself.
Yeah.
The unintended thing that the unintended perk that happens is that it sells yourself before you sell yourself. Like you said, people hire you before they meet you. They know what you're about. And it really just cuts a lot of the fat and gets right to the point. And oftentimes we walk into listing appointments and just instantly get the listing just because of all the work we put on everything else. And those are from people that have proactively looked up all that work.
Yeah.
So huge perk. And I think for me, 12 years, 13 years in the business, it fades a little bit because you get more established over time. You're used to getting those phone calls. But when you're 3 years in the business, I can remember the first time it happened. And it's still, and where just getting a listing was an enormous deal, but getting a listing appointment and getting the listing with ease because of video. I think there was a house on Auckland in New West Uptown. And I remember that showing up at the door, is like, oh, we've hired you. We just want you to see the home, and that was a huge perk. Maybe, looking at, now that we have Kylie, who's essentially kind of a full-time videographer for us, I wouldn't mind kind of sharing a little bit of like a strategy of a listing that we just have hitting this week, say in 258 Nelson's Court in Saperton. What was our video strategy for this? So we did a photo shoot last week, and if you wanted to go the full distance with video on a listing, I mean, this is what we did. At the photo shoot, at the first consultation, we're taking some photos, and those are for stories. And then at the photo shoot, we're doing stories. So the whole point is sharing it with your audience before it hits. That's just to get engagement. And when you have a following, you're going to notice just a lot of messages come from that. Cassandra, our photographer, videographer, did the professional video. I did a little intro in it, talking about the highlights like we're talking about the property. Then after the photo shoot was done, Kylie came. And Kylie came to do some more raw videos. And the purpose between those videos was social media specific. So Cassandra, professional videographer, does the property video. Kylie, you don't need a videographer for this. You can do it with yourself, but we wanted to step up our production. She came in and I did a video that was a little more raw, talking about the property and who the potential buyers would be that you wouldn't have on a virtual tour link. So that was designed purely for social media, and a video that highlighted Saperton and the future of Saperton, why choosing Saperton. So that was an area-specific video. So while we're in a photo shoot to get this new listing up and running, we get one video professionally done for the virtual tour link, one video for social media talking to potential buyers and who should consider this, and one video highlighting Saperton. in addition to that, just being great Instagram content and Facebook content, those will end up being on the YouTube profile. They'll make it on the Google pages, and having videos that talk about Brewery District, 258 Nelson's Court, Sapperton. Those are keywords that show up in search when people are searching those addresses, those developments, those neighborhoods, that they may stumble across that video, and it may have returns for years to come. So, and then when it sells, we promote the sale of it on social media as well. May not be in video format, but those videos float. They stay on the profile. They're searchable, and that's the true benefit. So one listing, you can get 3 great videos: neighborhood, raw behind the scenes about the listing, and professional listing. And I think that's a great combo when taken on a new listing.
Outside of property video, talking about Kylie, she just walked in the office. Hi, Kylie.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're doing outside of that it's a kind of a combination. I use this word authority, and it kind of like establishes an authority with your audience. You get to pick the topics, but you're probably picking topics that you're knowledgeable on, or that you maybe just learned and done some research on, or a property that you've just sold and talking about neighborhood that you're very familiar with. So you get to pick the topics on topics that you're confident in, that you can share everything you know about, and you come across as very knowledgeable. This is going to help your brand long-term when people are searching. Like I just said, we did a couple Brentwood videos, and this new buyer found us by Googling Brentwood condos or whatever it was, or YouTubing Brentwood condos. The other kind of aspect that I really love about these videos is that they're educational for consumers and new realtors. And it's more things that we've learned along the way, things that work really well for us, things that may help potential buyers, shortened podcasts almost into video. And it's like a really specific topic that, like Jamie mentioned, you can use keywords saying, building a new home, or like whatever this video is about, that people will continue to find forever and ever when they're when they're Googling, when they're YouTubing. Your Instagram profile, it's important. I always say it's your 24/7 resume. When someone is looking to potentially hire you, they're going to look at your website, they're going to look at your Instagram profile, and the more knowledgeable and enthusiastic, I like to use, that you come across, the higher likelihood that they're going to call you. Versus if you have zero personality on your Instagram, there's just a bunch of properties that, like, your face isn't even on there. You have a house picture, and then the next one is the house picture with a sold logo on it. And then the next one is a house picture and another one with a house sold logo on it.
Just all properties.
People don't even know who you are, versus like we have a ton of these experiences like Jamie just mentioned, where we're walking into a listing appointment and they're not even interviewing other people because they've been following us for so long, and they know that we know these neighborhoods really well. They know how we market and all that we do for their listing, and they really just want to know what their house is worth.
There's, Denny, if anyone's following Denny, he does a lot of video that are specific for an Instagram platform.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about video, a lot of the conversations Denny and I have are things that I'm more focused on evergreen. So outside of the property videos, I'm more focused on evergreen video, just because I'm not videoing to have a steady, consistent Instagram personal following. I'm videoing that I want this video to have a return 2 years from now, 4 years from now. And whereas I would say you're doing both, but if you are a realtor that has an Instagram profile but no website, then you're videoing for your Instagram profile. So that means more is better. You can do market updates. You can talk about things that are spur of the moment, the new stress test rule. But recognize that when you're doing a market update or talking about the new stress test rule or how multiple offers are happening in this moment in time, 6 months from now, that information is old news. So you're really doing it for the engagement on your feed in this moment. And the burden of that is, if you take that strategy on, you just have to keep doing it, because you're doing videos that are always more news oriented in the moment, and you're doing that to build a following of people to pay attention to you. And it absolutely can work, but you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
Alex McFadden, Thrive Mortgages, he crushes video. We've had him before on our podcast. And he's kind of groomed us to, like, if a new lending change happens, we look for what he puts out just because he knows that we just know that he's going to trim it and dumb it down for us to understand it.
Yeah.
And you can be that version of a realtor on your social platforms. But if you're, say, not on social media, but you want video to be part of your business, you want long-term return from video, then that means you want to focus more on evergreen content, and evergreen being content that doesn't necessarily expire. So a very good example would be, right now we might be talking about stress test market update for July. The evergreen version of that would be, I don't know, top 10 tips for buyers doing due diligence to buy a home, or talking about New Westminster houses, Queen's Park neighborhood. You talk about an area, you talk about a community, you talk about a product type, you talk about tips. When you think about the topic, you look 2 years from now, 4 years from now, is this still going to be relevant? And if the answer is yes, those are the videos that I'm more drawn to. Mainly because some of those topics, if you find those evergreen topics, they make good content they can be the occasional social video that's special for learning. It could be a video that you embed into an email that you send out as a newsletter to past clients. It could live on your YouTube feed, but ultimately, you title it right, you have the right descriptions, you put it in a blog post and on your YouTube feed, and you reap search dividends for years to come, and you build up dozens of evergreen videos that cover topics that people are searching for.
And you can share them more than once.
You can, right? Because they're evergreen.
Exactly. You can reuse them. I've even just found myself reusing a video every 3 months that is what I think is very important. For example, how to handle multiple offers. I think that's a very important video.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change whether you're handling multiple offers today or in 3 years from now.
I did 10 steps to doing due diligence when buying a detached house.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that is evergreen content. I did it with my old brokerage sign in the video, so it's a little bit dated in the video. But that's something that I refer back to often. I mean, those 10 steps don't change. But ultimately, as a new agent or any agent, you'll find that at certain moments of your career or of your year or of your month, you're an expert on something. You just went through an inspection and you learned all about 1980s wiring and plumbing.
Yeah.
That's the moment where you're never going to know. It's never going to be more fresh in mind. You might as well video it, capture it on camera. The moment if I'm learning something new about a building permit process or a rezoning or environmental requirements, or you name whatever it is, a community, a neighborhood, an area, something. If I feel that I've just learned about this is valuable, and this is going to escape my brain, it's going to fade in my memory in the months ahead, get it out on video, capture it, and forget it.